Hey everyone, Omogonix here and welcome back to a brand new Halo video here on the channel. So today I'm going to be ranking every Halo 3 weapon there is in, well, Halo 3. Well, not exactly. In fact, this is going to be part 1 in a 2-part video of me ranking every Halo 3 weapon. Now, why am I making this video in 2 parts? Well, it was originally just going to be in 1, but it's already taken me so long just to write out the script and stuff for this video that I'm just going to do it in 2 parts now, where I'm going to review 12 weapons and then 12 other weapons. So basically what I'm going to be doing right now is I'm going to go from ranks 24 to 12, since there's 24 weapons in Halo 3, so I'm going to go from ranks 24 to 12 in this part, and then in part 2 I'm going to go from ranks 11 to 1, so that's how that's going to go, and yeah, let's get on with the video. So in at number 24 is the MISSLE pod. The MISSLE pod is powerful, don't get me wrong, but because of it being rare throughout Halo 3's campaign, and me not personally finding it that essential, it has ranked last on this list. Halo 3 ODST does a much better job at showcasing the MISSLE pod, in my opinion, and the memory I have of using it in the campaign is quite significant as well. In Halo 3, the MISSLE pod is sighted off, and the only purpose of it is to help assist with destroying the Scarab on the Storm. To me, this makes the MISSLE pod basically useless, since, here's a fun fact, to destroy the Scarab on the Storm, you don't even need to fire a single bullet at it. Now, whilst I like using the MISSLE pod and have good memories of using it in Halo 3 ODST, in Halo 3 it's just not that significant or useful to me, thus why it's at last place on this ranking. So in at number 23 is the FLAMETHROWER. The FLAMETHROWER, just like the MISSLE pod, is quite rare in Halo 3's campaign, and the only mission it appears on is Floodgate. The flamethrower on that mission's main purpose was for, of course, killing the Flood, and it is quite effective in doing so if used right. If you keep your distance and fire off the flamethrower in smaller amounts instead of holding down the trigger, you should be fine. The flamethrower is definitely one of them weapons where it took me a while to get used to it, and most of the time when playing through Halo 3's campaign I would even refuse to use it, since all I ended up doing with it was accidentally burning and almost ending myself. Over time though, when I would play Floodgate sometimes, I would come to use the flamethrower more and try new techniques against the Flood with it. And honestly, when thinking about it now, the flamethrower seems kinda wasted only being on Floodgate. You don't get to use it much, but at the same time it makes sense as well. So overall, I do like the flamethrower. It's a weapon that's effective against a Flood if you know how to use it right and can practice with it, but due to me favouring the other weapons above this one on the list more, it has come in at number 23. Next in at number 22 is the Sentinel Beam. The Sentinel Beam for me is a bit of an iconic weapon in Halo 3. The one thing I really dislike actually about the Sentinel Beam is the charge on it. It runs out after just killing a couple of enemies, and I definitely don't think it's an essential weapon to have or use neither. It does alright damage, I guess, if you can get enemies in the right areas, and I would say it's best for the Flood, but definitely not the best weapon for the Flood. So overall, the Sentinel Beam, whilst an iconic weapon to me in the game, just doesn't deliver well, so here it is in the number 22 rank. In at number 21 is the beam rifle. The beam rifle is a great alternative to the sniper rifle, but can be a hassle to use if you're someone not great with sniper weapons like myself. With experience and use over time, you'll quickly get used to it. The beam rifle also does great damage, of course, since it's a sniper, and is most notably the mascot weapon of the Jackals. Overall, the beam rifle is a great gun in my opinion for the reasons mentioned before, but due to me favouring the weapons above the beam rifle on this list more, it has only landed in at number 21 on this list. So in at number 20 is the MAULER. The MAULER is one of them weapons that I barely use, and up until recently I didn't realise how powerful it is, and honestly I do regret not using it often after all these years now. The MAULER to me is an iconic weapon, and it's not like I would pretend it didn't exist or anything. In fact, I've always noticed the Mauler and when brokes use it. I've always remembered it, and isn't a gun I would forget. I guess I just never had an instinct to use it, maybe because of its looks, I don't know, but overall the Mauler is quite a good gun, and mainly due to me not using it that often and preferring the weapons above this one on the list better, the Mauler has placed in at number 20 on the list. Coming in at number 19 is the plasma cannon. The plasma cannon, just as the beam rifle is a great substitute to the sniper rifle, is a good substitute for the machine gun turret. I personally don't use the plasma cannon as much, but I do count it as an important weapon in the game, and it does quite decent damage of course. The fire rate on the plasma cannon is pretty decent, not the best and definitely not the worst neither. The plasma cannon, due to me not finding much use of it personally, comes in at number 19 on this list, even though I do think it is quite an important weapon to the game. Next in at number 18 is the fuel rod. The fuel rod may not be the strongest heavy weapon there is in Halo 3, but it is a very good weapon in my point of view. The fuel rod's projectiles when fired are much more contained in an explosion as opposed to the UNSC rocket launcher, and the damage is quite exceptional as well. And the fuel rod is also great for taking out vehicles as well, especially heavily armoured vehicles such as the Wraith. The fuel rod to me in Halo 3 will always be the weapon most recognisably equipped by the Brute War Chieftains, and overall the fuel rod's a great weapon, and whilst I respect and like it, it's definitely not my favourite in the game, and thus why it's number 18th on this list. In at number 17 is the rocket launcher. The rocket launcher is most likely the most iconic heavy weapon in Halo as a whole. The rocket launcher can take some precision with its shots due to the slow firing of the heavy rockets, which can be sort of annoying. I prefer the fuel rod over the rocket launcher in the aspect of how it fires, just because the rocket launcher can be a bit slow. The damage done by rocket launchers is great, and the explosion radius is larger than the fuel rods. The Halo 3 rocket launcher look is also one of the more well-known designs of the gun as well. Overall, the rocket launcher is a memorable weapon throughout the Halo games. Honestly, it's not one of my most used weapons, and I can go without using it in a campaign run, and due to me liking the weapons above this one more, the rocket launcher has landed in at number 17 on this list. In at number 16 is the Gravity Hammer. The Gravity Hammer is definitely a favourite of mine in Halo 3. The radius in which the Gravity Hammer's impact does damage to makes it a great weapon to use when fighting small, medium and large groups of enemies. The Gravity Hammer is a weapon I would consider one of my top choices of powerful weapons to use in Halo 3. But the reason as to why the Gravity Hammer does fall in at only number 16 is due to the limitations of it. The Gravity Hammer is simply a melee weapon with an extended damage radius, and whilst still great with what you can do with it and its capabilities, it just can't be used in every combat scenario, and honestly I wouldn't consider it essential in a basic playthrough as well. So whilst I love the Gravity Hammer and I have many memories tied to it, it falls in at number 16 on this list. In at number 15 is the Needler. The Needler gun is a weapon I've always considered as a last resort in my opinion. It's a gun I normally don't use, but if I've ever got no ammo, no other weapon to use, or if I'm about to die, the Needler is sometimes the weapon that I'll be using as a last resort. The Needler is one of them weapons I don't like using a lot due to it running out of ammunition so quickly, but despite this I actually really do love the Needler, mainly for the amount of times this thing has saved me from certain death. And just for other special times like that, and in general normal times of using it as well. The Needler is also quite an iconic weapon throughout the Halo franchise and in Halo 3 as well, and I personally don't use it often. It's of course a fan favourite for many, including myself, and you can't have a Halo game without it since it's iconically used by the grunts. Overall, the Needler actually does great damage, especially since the spikes fired are explosive after all, and honestly this is my favourite feature of it, and it's what makes me want to use it when I feel like it. Due to me liking the weapons above this one better and the flaws of the Needler as well, it has fell in at number 15 on my list. In at number 14 is the Plasma Pistol. The Plasma Pistol is one of them guns that a Halo game can't go without. It delivers quite decent damage, and it's also one of them guns that I like to dual wield with, since 2 Plasma Pistols combined is double the damage and firepower, of course. I don't really like to charge the Plasma Pistol up all the way just because I find it much more efficient and swifter to kill enemies just by tapping RT instead of holding it down and doing damage that way, since your accuracy could be halved as well. Overall, the Plasma Pistol is an essential weapon in Halo 3 to me, and whilst it's one of my most used guns, I do like the weapon above this one. I do like the weapons above this one on the list more, thus why it falls in at number 14. In at number 13 is the Energy Sword. The Energy Sword is great for the Flood tanks to be exact. It's definitely a weapon I've used quite a lot due to its high-end melee damage, and the look of the Energy Sword has always been cool as well. Overall, the Energy Sword is definitely an iconic weapon in both Halo 3 and the Halo series, but due to me liking the weapons above this one better, it falls in at number 13 on this list. In at number 12 is the Spartan Laser. I personally really like the Spartan Laser for its usefulness at the beginning of the mission to Covenant, and it's also the weapon that's used to destroy 343 Guilty Spark in the final mission of Halo 3 as well. The one thing I don't like about the Spartan Laser is sometimes because it doesn't fire straight away, since it needs to charge before firing, and can affect my accuracy negatively sometimes if in multiplayer, but in single player it actually helps more than it ruins it. Overall, the firepower on the Spartan Laser is great as well, putting more than just a punch into the enemy due to very minor things I dislike about the Spartan Laser and me just liking the weapons above it more. It falls in at number 12 on this list. So anyways guys, that is the end of part 1. I will be making part 2 soon, so be sure to stay in tune for that, where I'll be ranking the next 11 Halo 3 weapons. So yeah, so anyways guys, if you did enjoy, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also comment down below for more, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye bye.